Hey guys, if you can think about how you found this podcast, maybe it's on Instagram or TikTok, maybe someone shared it with you. I don't run ads for the show or have sponsorships, so the only way this grows is through word of mouth. If this was valuable for you in any way, my only ask is if you could share this with someone who you think would help their investing journey or business. Thanks a lot, and let's get to the episode. Welcome back to STR Like the Best. I'm your host, Michael Chang. It's my pleasure to welcome Patryk Swietek to the show. Patryk, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, no, thanks for having me, Michael. Appreciate it, man.
I'm excited for this conversation. I'm following a while on social media. We finally met in Nashville, so I'm glad able to. It's always crazy during conferences. You never get to talk to anyone, actually. So it's nice to have this opportunity to just actually get to know each other a little bit better and introduce you to the audience. So with that, why don't you introduce yourself, Patryk?
Yeah, and it's cool, Michael. We met for the first time in Nashville, but we've seen each other all over social media, and it's kind of how small this industry is. And it was really cool to see you in person. I'm glad you're a real person, and you're taller. You're way taller than I thought, which kind of took me by surprise. But it was really fun. But just a little bit background on me, Michael, is my background is very tech oriented, and I started companies when I was really young. So I was very entrepreneurial. I had a very entrepreneurial urge really young. I know when I was 12 years old, 10 to 12, kids would get super excited about snowstorms. Speaking of snowstorm right now in New York happening, and I would get super excited, but for a different reason. While people saw, oh my God, it's going to be a day off. It's going to be great to play in the snow, make snowmen. I was thinking, wow, this is going to be awesome time to make some money snowplowing. And that was kind of the journey of knowing that I was a little bit different than everyone else in a little way, that I just valued creating value and making cash, to be honest. I thought this was really cool. It was going to give me access to live a more enjoyable life, to eat the food I wanted to eat. And my parents we grew up in a middle class family. I never got handed anything, so I had to, if I wanted an Xbox, I had to make money for it. And so that was the way that I had to do it. And so from a really young age, I saw that opportunity and was able to create value like that. So that was the beginning of my life. And slowly as time went on, 14 years old, I was really passionate about video games. I love video games, and you can turn anything you're passionate about into a money-making machine, because eventually I started seeing my friends really like video games too, and they needed server space to host their servers on. And naturally, I decided, you know what? I'm going to host for free. This is the early version of house hacking. I was going to host for free and get my stuff, my servers paid for by other people. So I'm going to get a big server. I'm going to split the server into segments. I'm going to dish it out to other people to pay for it. And I made money on top of that. So I made money and I got to play for free. I was like, this is awesome. And eventually I scaled that, and I made around $40,000 a year until I was 18 years old in high school. Amazing. And that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. That's who I'm about. And I've loved it ever since.
So from getting your video games paid for, and high school sounds like it was fairly enjoyable with $40K a year in high school.
Oh yeah,
it's funny. I've heard this story actually from a few people that are now short-term investors and entrepreneurs in general. Like, it all starts fairly early. You kind of just have this itch when you're younger, whether it's like genetics or like circumstances, like who knows, maybe a combination of both. But yeah, it's just like that early urge for something entrepreneurial. I actually don't really talk about it, but like, my buddy and I in high school, this is like 1996, so dating myself a little bit, but it's like the, advent of the internet. And we actually found an opportunity for like affiliate marketing. And then we falling backwards into it. We're like, oh, you get paid if people click on this, like 5 cents or 8 cents, or like you get paid if someone buys something from the link. You're like, all right, well, how do we like create a bunch of these links and like spam you? Just like, how do we distribute a lot of links at scale? We did that actually. Paid for a lot of high school, paid for a lot of college. So like all this stuff starts early. But now, like we're today, like tell us about your short-term real estate business / portfolio today. How's it look like?
Yeah. So I do want to I'll skip some steps, but I did where I got first introduced to short-term rental investing per se in the portfolio that I have today. I currently have 5 properties currently and that I own. And then I manage, total 53 signed in Joshua Tree, California. So that's the way it is. But I got introduced to short-term rental investing right after I went down the path of college. I realized I got into no schools in the beginning, and I realized, wow, creating real value in this world, being an entrepreneur doesn't really pay off when it comes to the workforce. So I thought, great, I'm going to go get straight A's and I'm going to get into a top university. I went to community college, got straight A's, got into University of Illinois, top 10 business school, got straight A's, 4.0, 3.98, got 1 A minus. Oh boy. And then I graduated, high honors, did everything they told me. And then I got a job working for a short-term rental company as a product manager in LA. And the company happens to be a short-term rental company that they do arbitrage at scale. And it's called Avance. They're a top 10 property management company now. And at the time, they were doing arbitrage. And that's where I really learned how much money short-term rentals really can make. That was kind of the first ringing to that. Long story short, laid me off during COVID. Things happened, tried going down the traditional path. Got fired from 3 jobs in 1 year. Couldn't really hold a job. I was always questioning everything. I was always, I was not a good employee. I was questioning everything. I wanted to know what's going on. I loved managing people, but I didn't really like being managed. So it just never really worked out for me. But then eventually fell on short-term rentals. I was like, I really want to do this thing. Really want to do short-term. And I said, screw it. I'm just going to buy one. I couldn't figure out how to arbitrage. I couldn't figure out how to host. I was like, I have to buy it. So I used all the money that I had at the time that I've saved up and I had to pay for college and all sorts of other things. But all the money I saved up, and I put down 10% at the age of 24, put down 10% on a home in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. That was my first property that I ever bought.
Very nice.
And put 10% down. It was 2021. And
good time to be buying the Smokies. We have 6 there. So.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So that was the start of everything, the Smokies, and everyone talked about it. Avery Carl, it was like this huge thing, and I thought, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. So I put the money down, and I did not know what I was doing. I did a sight unseen, bought the studio cabin that was making $33,000 a year. I put all in. I was at like 42,000 after everything. It was a standard property, and the only thing I changed was the marketing and the pricing, and that alone took this property from 33,000 to 60,000. I made 60,000 that first year. That was like where I realized, wow, bad managers actually don't make as much money as good managers. Yeah. I self-managed it, and I was like, wow, there's a huge opportunity here.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, 2021 Smokies, a lot of a lot of people that self-manage or use property management companies that really not optimize for price. I always tell that is the low-hanging fruit in this industry is revenue management, pricing management, the pricing and listing optimization. Actually, some of the listings are just really awful too. Actually, and it candidly doesn't take very long to fix it. Photos, descriptions, whatnot, and then pricing. You could literally 30% someone's revenue that's really mismanaging it really, really easily without too much of a sweat. Actually, we've actually now helped a few people in the Smokies do that too on revenue. They just kind of come ask us hey, how much are you making? We have a 6-bedroom rented, $215.
Nice.
No view or anything. It's just game room, 2 hot tubs, but 2 hot tubs in there actually. Or it came with 2 hot tubs, and we're like, let's keep it. And they're their 6 bedrooms are doing like 140. I'm sometimes they have a view or a better location. I'm what are you guys doing?
Wow.
Just change your pricing, and then so. Anyways, this is for a bit of a digression, but there's a lot of value to managing it properly. So back to yours. So you bought the one in the Smokies 21. So right. I'm guessing you 1031 or sold it to go into Joshua Tree?
So I just flat out sold it, pulled out $175,000 of cash. That was in a year and a half. And I mean, at the time I was already doing stuff in Joshua Tree. I had a business partner that was putting up the capital and I was doing all the work. So, kind of the aspect of, I was 24, 25 at the time. I didn't really have that much cash. I didn't work, 100K plus job or anything like that for very long. I was a really good employee to begin with. But you got to be resourceful, right? So, found somebody that, wanted to.
How did you find this person, actually? Sorry, curious. So for younger listeners out there, people that don't have access to a lot of capital, like what's a way to do that? Like you partnered with someone that had the money, didn't have time. You had at the time a lot more free time versus capital. I'm sure it's different now, but how'd you find a person? Like, how'd you structure a deal with them?
Yeah, so this was in, so I was at a meetup and it was like a mutual friend.
Okay.
And I met him and he was flipping houses, and I had one Airbnb at the time, and he was like, I want to get into Airbnb. I said, well, I would love some capital so that we can both do it together. And we kind of partnered up, and it's funny because to this day we're still partners. We do the management company together. We're buying management companies together. So it's been very nice. And at the time, I got access to capital, and then from there we took on these deals together, and that helped because that allowed me to do 5 deals pretty quickly, and I sold the cabin in the Smokies. So once I had,
selling the cabin? Do you regret selling the cabin in the Smokies?
Oh, I'm so happy I did that, because keep in mind, I had a 3% interest rate, which is kind of hard to give up. But think about this, right? There's this thing called ROE, which is return on equity. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Have you ever heard of ROE? Okay, so
I was an investment banker for 10 years. It's like very critical. Like, what is your return on equity? Yeah, your equity has increased materially from when you bought it. If you put in 40, you got 175 out. You have 4 extra equity. So then your returns, if they were 20%, now they're 5%. So, yeah.
I shouldn't even ask you that question. Of course, you know.
Sorry, it's just like, it's like you threw like red beat at me. I was like, I guess I'll go for it.
I love how you're sitting there just so humbly, not trying to say it, but you know it. But yeah, so ROE, return on equity, that money was just sitting there. It was making 20K a year net, cash in the pocket. I knew that I can make more money with active investments. So I took that money and I've made more money just through one flip, yet alone, buying another management company and doing other things with it. So I've been very happy with that cash. And to this day, it's been serving me well. And so that just multiplies the money a lot faster. And doubling down in one area. I'm a very big proponent of doubling down in one area. Economies of scale, similar to your 6. I mean, how are your 6 in the Smoky Mountains? I'm sure the fact that once you got to the third one, fourth one, it became marginally less difficult to kind of manage, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, much easier. So we have the arbitrage portfolio in Philly, so like 25 there. So we kind of had the back end, all the tech back end and the customer service. And then when we bought the cabins, we had to learn a new market, obviously, and then the vendors and all that fun stuff. But yeah, by our first 3, they were the same HOA. So the same HOA. So like as kind of easy as you can get it, right? Like we knew what it could do, and we used the same cleaners. Our fourth one was, the fourth one was like kind of down the street, maybe like 10 minutes down. So like pretty close. Another one, then the next 2 are a little further away. But yeah, I'm with you there. I'm very much a proponent of having scale within one place. That's why all of our arbitrage units are in Philly, like 2 buildings, and then all of our cabins are like in Sevierville. So Smokies there's some sub markets in the Smokies, but we try to keep everything within 20 minutes of each other. Same cleaners, just same everything.
Same handyman, same
handyman, same mattresses, same TVs, and the same remotes, same locks, same lights. And like as much as the same as we and I mean, we both know there's real advantages to standardization when you start growing your unit count.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree for sure.
How do you deal with the management company? So you manage, is that 53 right now signed?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, or maybe let's like rewind a little bit. So you got the 5, you bought 5, and was like managing / co-hosting always kind of part of the equation? Like, I'm going to get these here, but I'm going to just kind of grow, or is it like more organic? Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, so I wasn't thinking about co-hosting. I thought that was not the way to wealth at the beginning, at least. And I realized that having cash flow is so important, which is why you like the arbitrage, I'm assuming. So a lot of people will invest and then their money will just kind of stay into the properties, will just stay there, as opposed to like having that cash somewhere else where you can make more money on that cash. That's kind of more the way to go, where you can actually multiply the efforts. So like flipping houses, doing active investing, like, co-hosting. So I decided I'm running out of cash, and honestly, like, I can't keep taking loans out, and I just knew that I was at a point where I needed to make some cash, like income. And so what better way to do it than manage other people's properties? I was already doing it. I was already teaching at the time. Keep in mind, at the time, STR Nation started. So STR Nation is my community of short-term rental investors, and I was already teaching people how to buy and get properties under contract and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought to myself, well, if I teach other people to do it, I can just do it myself and I can manage these. And so I was looking for co-host leads, and turns out somebody was looking to sell 15 at the time, at the same time. And so they were looking to sell their management company. And that's kind of where my journey came into buying management companies. I've bought 2 so far, and I'm in escrow on my 3rd one. So that's more of an advanced topic. But I definitely love the aspect of like buying into cash flow as opposed to just, going one by one.
Yeah. Why don't we double click on that? Because I know that's something that you've been very public about buying management companies. Like, I mean, they're just to level set, the short-term rentals, there's 3. If you're like a first-time listener or haven't listened to many episodes, there are 3 key strategies. One is co-hosting, which is just another way for property management. You manage someone else's property for a fee, right? And it's generally like a percentage, 15 to 25%, depending on the market, or how good you are of a negotiator. Second is rental arbitrage, and I'll just go through the order of like capital intensity. Managing is like doesn't cost a ton of money. It's really just you're doing work, right? You're trading labor for income. Rental arbitrage is kind of similar, but you're more of an owner. You pay a rent. You pay a fixed payment a month to rent someone's property, but you're responsible for all the expenses and furnishing it and doing everything. But you get all the upside, right? Like if you crush it, then you make everything besides your expenses. Downside is if you don't crush it, then you owe the rent, and you could be in a loss position. It's probably pretty difficult to be in a loss position for co-hosting, although your upside is capped because you're sharing a percent. You have 20% of the income versus 100%. And last is buying, right? You buy, it's 10-20% down. You get a mortgage. You got to put in the furniture. It's it's a fair amount of money. And to Patrick's point, if it appreciates, like that property of Smokies that we bought, like there's a ton of equity in that, and the ROA there is like not great. Now, there's a 3% mortgage there. I could wrap something around it, but like also like that's also an advanced topics category. Right. But that's where so there's 3 key strategies. I think Patrick has like been very clever in like finding a way to like scale a co-hosting business, because generally speaking, people will go, especially beginning to go like one by one, like their friends who are their network around them, like, hey, you want to buy one? I'll manage it for you, right? That's how people usually start. But it's hard. It takes a long time. It's like one by one by one versus buying a company. You're buying a portfolio of leads. There's different nuances there too, right? So Patrick, maybe talk about that, because that's something that I've never really talked about and actually don't really know much about. So I know the M&A side, but I'm curious on how you think about this, scaling your co-hosting business by buying management companies versus, kind of going to individual owners one by one.
Yeah. I mean, the thought process there for me, at least now, is going one by one. I'll touch on that in a sec, but like versus buying a property and getting all the appreciation and all the tax benefits, it really doesn't make as much sense when you're really starting out, because the tax benefits is, when you're a high income earner, essentially, right? So like if you're starting out, you don't really have a crazy high income, then it makes more sense to buy into cash flow. So I'd rather take that same cash, and instead of buying a property that's going to make me $1,000 a month, I'd rather buy a management company that's going to make me $1,000 per property. So that those 15 properties at $1,000 per property puts me at 15 grand. If I hire out staff, plus expenses, that could be like 10 grand, 7.5. Like I'd rather get that per month than have one property essentially. But with that comes more difficulties, obviously. Now, one by one versus.
Can you talk about that though? Because I think there is this like romanticism of like 15 properties, great, you earn more but there is, like just like with anything, right? Anything in life, there's like the good and the bad, right?
Pros
Like
and the cons, right?
the pros and the cons, right? Thank you. Like talk about me just like high level, like what are the cons of managing 15 like versus one?
Yeah, one is a lot less stress. You can self-manage it, and use like 30 minutes a week, and that's it. And once you get to 15, first of all, you're managing other people's properties. So you're dealing with the owners, which is probably honestly the biggest PITA or pain in the butt is dealing with owners. And you don't have to do that with arbitrage. You don't have to deal with owners. So that's the cool thing about you, Michael. But for co-hosting, you have to deal with owners. So that's one of the bad things. Not all owners are bad, but they have expectations, and you have to cater to their expectations. They're going to be complaining about things. They're going to be talking. You have to really set the expectation correctly and really talk about it, which is, especially with new owners, it can be really tough. Now, once you get into 15, you're dealing with 15 of them. And then on top of that, you're dealing with all these issues and all these properties. It's just a lot of stuff going on at once. But the cool thing there is, like, if you own properties and you manage properties for other people, then you can actually use the resources from the management company, the co-host company, to help your property that you own. So all the resources, let's say the handyman or whatever, you can actually pay for the handyman to go in full time in your company. And then now you have free handyman services for your one property that you own. So you see, like, there's unique ways to do all of that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the idea around it. And
you hit on the head, the owner management part. That is like by far the hardest part. And like that for me is actually the biggest reason why I won't we've done it like two people here in New York City. They're like wealthy individuals that like really are not going to care to just like handle it. Send me a check. Like, I don't really know. I don't want to know. Like, I actually don't really want to know. I'm like, great, perfect client. And they're condos, so like they don't have any issues. But anyways, the fact that like 15 people have my cell phone number and like blow me up whenever, like that like scares me. And that's where like the arbitrage, there's more risk, but like, you kind of, there's like one person out call you and you pay them. And the thing is also like you pay them money. The power dynamic's a little different too. It's like, I'm the tenant though. Like, they could yell at me for something, but also like I pay you rent versus like the other way around where it's like, well, like, like who's the client? And I always going to think of it in that terms. But look, I mean, not having to have a huge rent nut beginning of every single month is like, that's very comforting. And also like, there's more value if you were to just sell a management company than just like you're buying a management company. There's more value there. Arbitrage businesses are like not easy to sell. Management companies, like you'll get, like depending on the size and quality of the business, you'll get a multiple on your cash flow.
3 to 5x usually. And it could be higher depending on your contracts and everything that you have going on. So
just, go ahead.
Yeah. I was agreeing with you. I mean, at the end of the day, so those are the pros and cons of co-hosting. Co-hosting is like you said, there's no downside in the sense that like if sometimes I make more money than my owners, it's like crazy, but it's not ideal. But there's times in the market where it gets tough, and especially with mortgages. But I don't get the benefits of the real estate. So there's but at the same time, the cool thing, so there's with every con, there's always, when there's a will, there's a way. So I'm on this podcast and my phone's not blowing up right now. So I'm at 53. So how is that? And so it's like hiring a team, right? Just like with anything in life, we have somebody dealing just with owners. That's how much work the owner, and same with like fund managers, I'm sure have the same experience where they're dealing with all these personalities where it was somebody's money, like dealing people's most prized possession or like highest investment, which is their assets, their homes. Usually there's a lot of money stuck in these homes, so it's like it's a big deal, especially if it's a homeowner. So and they poured every little dollar into this thing called Airbnb because they're going to make a lot of money with this thing, and they're super uptight about making sure that it's good, and they rely heavily on it. That's why I like working with investors more so. Investors are more numbers driven, easier to communicate with, especially ones that bought good deals. There's some room on the deal. They're not like scavenging to make ends meet. So we look more like somebody that's coming and saving them from everything versus somebody that's taking away money from them.
That's a huge, by the way, I want to pull that out. That's actually huge. Like I think for almost anything, like, if you if someone sees you as like value adding to their project, their house, whatever it is, like it is a way easier conversation, a way better relationship than, sometimes those owners or just in general where they feel like you're taking from them. It's like, well, you don't deserve 20%. Like I could do this. I don't know if you met Rob Neerdorf in
I did.
And he just, every time I see him, it's like, man, like these owners, like, like, go, man, I'm sorry, man. you gotta find someone to buffer between that. But that is actually really, if you can like build those relationships, those are the best ones because those compound over time, and they're like,
oh my god,
it's like a pleasure to do business. It's a pleasure to we talk about it, it's like, it's like a very enjoyable conversation versus like someone calls you and is like, I want it to be 18%, not 19%. You're like, oh my god,
over a percentage point. So we vet our owners just like we vet the house, we vet the owners. And Michael, I'm going to be honest, there is an asshole tax. So if you're a tough owner to deal with, we're going to charge you 30%. Or you can kick rocks, because at the end of the day, if I'm going to have to deal with something that's really tough to deal with, I'm going to charge them more. And so, there's always that perspective on things. But anyways, I love the cool thing about this business though is the owners as well. It's because you get connected to some, pretty cool people. They're doing cool things. And a lot of times they already trust you because you manage the properties for them. So they'll want to do deals with you. So they'll, propose, hey, like, let's take down this commercial building or do this thing. Or, hey, do you guys want to, help us with this? Or you just get more opportunities because these are high net worth individuals that are investing in these more luxury assets, especially for the luxury houses. Or they're like musicians or they're famous people. We're near LA. So we get a lot of, we have celebrity clients. So you get some cool perks with that, which,
very cool,
are fun. And I'm sure if I'll do the privacy, I won't drop their names, but it's cool. Like they'll definitely have people stay at the properties that you would be like, wow, I know that person, like A-list celebrity. So
that's cool. That's very cool. Let's talk about Joshua Tree actually, because it's actually one of the I do want to hit STR Nation because I think it's really important. I think the community part is actually super important for people that are just starting out or don't have a broad network. Like it's really valuable to find a group, a tribe that like you can like talk to and share problems with, like create solutions together. It's super valuable. So I definitely want to talk about that. But how's Joshua Tree right now? I think you hear different things online. So you have 58, right? Because you're 53 plus 5. So
oh no, not plus 5, 53 total.
Oh, 53 total. Yeah. 53. So 50, you're above 50. You have a pretty good view on the market. Like, what's the market like now? How was it in 23, and how are you thinking on 24?
Yeah, so interesting enough, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Joshua Tree is the best market to enter into. I would actually not advise most newbie investors to invest in Joshua Tree unless they have a trusted advisor that understands the market really, really well. And it's super competitive. I'm just going to be honest. It's super competitive. And it's
why is it super competitive? I mean, what do you mean by that? Like define that actually.
So super competitive in the sense that there's a lot of really good properties out there, and the competition is stiff. Everyone uses automated price, or everyone uses dynamic pricing. You're not special for using it. Everyone's listed on multiple platforms. Everybody does the highest end amenities and the highest end design. Okay, everyone does a hot tub. Now everyone's doing a Callaway pool. Like the standards are so high, the interior design is so elevated. You can, like, if you have a grandma chic house, forget about it. You're not going to get anything. Like you're dead. And so it's like,
oh wow, scary,
it's cutthroat. So I feel like right now I'm in the NBA, Michael. I'm here. I'm just like, pulling moves, and then I want to play some college ball. I want to go to Michigan or something and like compete over there, but I can't. I'm here and I'm in the Olympics, and so it's great because it prepares me because I have to be on top of everything. I have to measure ranking for all the properties. I have to price every single day. I need like specific attention to revenue management, which honestly makes me a better competitor in a lot of ways. But I will tell you, Michael, there's nothing better than being in a market where I have the demand, I have the traffic flow. Right? I rather be in a place where I don't have to compete to convince people to go out there and visit the area. I rather take the existing traffic, the 3 million visitors that come to the national park every year, and basically captivate on that audience, just do better than my neighbor. I'd rather do
Yeah.
better than my neighbor and have traffic flow than not have traffic flow. You see what I mean?
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, having the demand, like you just, there's business there. You have to, you're fighting for business versus like creating business, right? Like, I think that's where some people have gotten in trouble, like in 22, 23, they're investing in these like tertiary markets. And I was telling people not to do that. Like, there's always, when it was so busy during COVID, people couldn't afford to go into kind of the core where they wanted to go to. So they would go maybe 20 minutes out, 30 minutes out, an hour and out. And those saw a big spike. And you're like, oh my God, this is great. These properties are so cheap. They made so much money. Now a lot of that mean reversion's happening. So it's always good to, I always preach this. It's always good to like stay in that core market. There's two things in real estate you can't, Mentor taught me this. There's two things in real estate you can't change. Location, can't move it, and price, your basis. Those things you cannot change, right? The price you got in at and where you bought it. Now you can refi your loan, you can, tear it down and build a new house, like whatever it is, right? But like the land is the land, the location is the location, and the price is the price. So you get those two things right, like, you're generally in a good spot. So that's good. I mean, we're aligned there. It's definitely better to be in a good, you sound like in a solid location there. I saw this like glass house on YouTube about, I think it was in J-Tree. Yeah. Like, I'm like, wow, this is really elevated. Like,
yeah.
Do you think it's just because it's the LA kind of style and money, and that's just like, and that's why this market's evolved? Do you think
I 100% think it's San Francisco, LA, San Diego, California money getting dumped into that market, and people are always going to one up you, and there's just better and better properties. And so that's actually a cool opportunity too, because people then buy. Like a 4-bedroom just sold for 1.7 million, which was a record. That was a new construction. And those kind of opportunities happen because people just have money in San Francisco. You can get a shack in San Francisco for that kind of money. And then now you can buy a beautiful home in Joshua Tree for that kind of money. So
is it mostly like a second home market, or do you think they're mostly investors, or like someone that, made a lot of money in tech or in the media industry and just wants a nice second home that like they can go to? There's a factor here, like people just want to be able to like show off to their friends, to like, look at my beautiful house. And then Airbnb, if it's, kind of like cover some of the costs, great. If not, like they don't really care. Although those markets kind of scare me though, because like they're so price insensitive, and like they can be kind of outlandish with the amenities. Like if you're striving for cash on cash, like, it's just going to be really, really tough. I'm curious to get you're knee deep in that market. How do you think about that? Or
that's an interesting perspective, Michael. Like, that's actually something that I think about all the time. I'm like, dang, I'm going to have to renew these homes every 2 years because like everyone's always one-upping each other and doing better and better. And I think that actually drives tourism up. And so I think a rising tide lifts all ships. And I believe in that. So like the fact that I'm already positioned well at a lower price point, I think the valuation of these assets go up. And I think the value of the market as a whole, like when you have quality of properties, then that just increases value and increases tourism to those areas. A perfect example of this is the Gulf Shores with Bill Faith. He talks about this whole concept when he first went into Gulf Shores. Golf carts were not an amenity that was offered. But next door, I don't know next door exactly what it is, but I think like further down, like Destin and all that, like that was a norm, right? These high-end homes, this is a norm to do. But in Alabama, this is not really a thing. But he started doing it, people started copying him, and it started becoming more and more elevated as a market. And because of that, everyone won because more tourism started flocking to that market because the standard of the home went up. And I know that there's people that don't go to Joshua Tree and go to Palm Springs because Palm Springs has an elevated experience that's very, like, what you're going to get. No matter where you go in Palm Springs, you're going to get a very high quality product, which is what people are striving for. And Joshua Tree is not the way just yet, but it's becoming more elevated. The middle is getting squeezed out. The shitty products are getting squeezed out. The Kohl's of the world, the Sears of the world are where you're not competing on value or price. You're just getting squeezed. And so, you got to compete on those two avenues. And I'll be honest, I never want to compete on price because competing on price is a falling knife. And if you want the Walmart strategy, you can go all day. But I'm all about value and competing on differentiating. Yeah.
You sound like you sound like the product manager that you started at the A plus the 3.98
Oh,
GPA product manager at Avance. No, that's great. I think the way that you described it is excellent. I went to Joshua Tree one time. I loved it actually. I love the desert. And my wife and I went there. I can't wait to take my kid. That's actually one of the places I really want to take my kids first trip because it's just like, it's like open. It's like really easy. I got young kids. I want them to have like a ease, like
they can run
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can run around and, we'll go when it's not super, super hot, but like it's a great place to spend some time.
You have a place to stay now because you got your choice of whatever you want.
Thank you, I appreciate it. That's very kind of you. Definitely hit you up and help me find a good place for the fam. But I do we have a few minutes left. I want to hit on STR Nation because actually I don't know much about it. I've seen our mutual friend Jeremy went to your event. I think it was, I guess last year. I had never heard about it, and I looked and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." It's in San Diego, which is where I went to college. So I was in San Diego. So
where'd you
tell
go?
us more about UCSD.
Oh, UCSD.
La Jolla.
Cool.
Yeah.
You had a really fun time then, huh?
It's not the easiest. Yeah, it's fun, but this is '98, so it's definitely it was more fun then. Now it's like a real very rigorous academic school. But tell us about how you started that. Just with the podcast and trying to build a community around kind of what Liz and I have started. Just so many good opportunities, and it's actually more enjoyable because I meet a lot of other people that are doing the same thing that I would never would have met, and I learn from them, and it's just kind of cool to talk shop. But I'd love to know, maybe to start, where'd you get the idea of STR Nation?
Yeah, so good question. So this is gonna be helpful for anybody that's looking to get started in real estate investing. When I got started, remember going back to the home. How did I get the courage to buy a home 2,000 miles away without sight unseen and knowing that Smoky Markets was a good market? Community. I had no idea until I saw other people that are doing it and they were telling me about it, and they're like, "Wow, look at these returns! Look at what's going on here." We're from California too, and we're doing this. And so from an early start, I realized community was an important aspect of my investing journey, and it allows me to push beyond my limits, right? It allows me to push and become better and better. And so knowing that, that's why I decided, you know what, I'm going to start my own little meetup in LA. So I had my first meetup, 15 people came, 10 to 15.
Not bad. That's pretty good.
It's like 10 to 15 or something. And I was like, cool, this is so cool.
Yeah.
I'm doing this meetup. And so I did it the next month. I saw Stephanie, my business partner, currently at STR Nation, and she came again. And then this time she had another property. The first time she had only one. Now next month she had another one. It seemed like every month or every other month she got a new property. And I was like, dang, she's scaling so fast. And it motivated me to try to scale as fast as with her. And so both me and her now run STR Nation, and we've grown it. And we've, within 6 months we decided, hey, let's just put on a conference in Vegas. Let's make it happen.
Okay.
And 150 person conference, we fully booked out 150 people. And then we said, you know what, let's do 250. And we fully booked out 250 last year. And now we're saying, let's do 250 again. Let's do it in San Diego again. And I haven't released it. I'll release the dates, save the dates. July 7th to the 9th, we're doing it in San Diego again.
Very nice.
So we just do it every year, but we do meetups every month in LA, which is cool. But I want to join everybody in together, for every year. And so that's the one coming up in San Diego.
All right. So this is July 7th and 9th here in San Diego, and Southern California. You're interested in short-term rentals. Definitely good to check it out.
What's funny, Michael? We haven't talked about this, but you're definitely on the list of people that I have to reach out to for speaking opportunities. So granted, I'm just doing it. This is the first time Michael's hearing about it. But might as well do live. If you want to come speak, this would be a really great opportunity. I'd love to have you on the panel, for co-hosting an arbitrage. I think it'd be really fun that we can talk shop about arbitrage.
I'd love to. I love talking shop, and I love San Diego, so it's pretty easy. Go ahead.
Yeah. On top of that, I think this would be a fantastic way to make your dreams come a reality. And what you can do is you can go to San Diego, and then right afterwards you can go to but it might be triple digit.
It's kind of hot. I don't. Yeah, maybe we'll go up like Laguna or something. We'll save Joshua Tree for the it's local.
Yeah,
I don't know. But thank you. No, thank you. I would love to do that. It sounds like a wonderful opportunity. I appreciate the offer. So folks, July 7th and 9th in San Diego. If you're listening to this, buy your tickets at STR Nation. Go check it out. But let's talk about the meetup though. Like, I'm curious, did you just did you just rent a bar, or like, did you just like, hey, let's meet up here? Like, I think a lot of people are maybe a little cautious about like, I think a lot of people are kind of scared. They just want to go and they don't know, like, if you don't know anyone or you don't have a buddy to go with you, you kind of just go there. You're not kind of like, get your hiding kid and you sit in the corner. You don't really know what to say. Yeah. Especially if you're new, you don't really have anything to contribute. It's awkward to go in a circle of people that already know each other. So like, how do you think about that? Like, where do you have it, and how do you make new people comfortable where they want to, contribute?
I think a lot of it's just I'm loud and I'm obnoxious, so I'm gonna run around and connect people. But a second part. So a long time ago, when I was 18, a long time.
How old are you? You keep saying a long time ago. You look like you're like 24 or 25.
I'm 27, so it wasn't that long ago, but relatively to my life.
You're a young man. You're a young man, my friend.
9 years ago. But when I did that, my mentor told me you should go to networking events. So I did that. I went downtown because I live 30 minutes away from Chicago downtown, and I went downtown 30 minutes on a train. I got my little business cards I bought online for dollars, pennies on a dollar.
Vistaprint?
Vistaprint or moo.com. And then I got inside.
Moo.com, yeah.
I think moo.com had free cards. That's what I got.
Yeah, I think we used that too.
And so like I did that, and then I got in, and I was so intimidated that I chickened out. I literally left. First of all, I was like, oh, it's a bar. They're not going to let me in. I'm not even of age. And I just ran out and I went to the pizza joint next door. And I called my mentor. And I talked to him, and he said, listen, everybody in that room is there for a reason. Find out that reason. When you think from the perspective that everyone there is going to network for a reason, there's a reason that if they had everything figured out in their life, they wouldn't be there. So you have something of value to offer them, or you can at least listen to what they need, and you might be able to connect them correctly. And when I thought of that, I was like, wow, these people I'm not taking away anything from these people.
Yeah.
If anything, I can add value to these people. And so that kind of switched the shift. And I actually went over to the meetup, and I got in, even though I was 18, it was 21 plus bar, and they handed me a wine. I was like, and I just, okay, full disclosure, I started drinking the wine. They don't know. They think everyone there is 21 plus, So,
yeah. And
I started networking, and the wine definitely helped, but calmed my nerves. But got to talk to some people, and it was a great. From there, I've always used that same philosophy. So I'm in. No,
I think that's. I just want to reiterate that. Like, I think that's great, and I think we touched on it on a couple other points, and where you're not thinking about taking, where it's not like taking, you're giving, right? Mm-hmm. And like, you're giving value to someone, just makes the whole relationship easier. It's easier to start. It's easier to maintain. It's easier to like grow because like everyone's getting something out of it, right? Like the tough ones are always the ones where one person's winning. When we're thinking about partnerships and stuff, I always think about win-wins. Like, how can I help this person? Like, if it's helping me, like, how does this help the other person? Because if fundamentally, like, I'm winning and someone else is losing, like, you might win that once or twice, right? And it's definitely in entrepreneurship. Like, you win once or twice, but like, it's not a sustainable relationship. And actually, the hardest things to do in business is like having good, sustainable, long-term relationships. Those are the ones that like really add value to you long-term because they're like so rare, actually. If you're a person that like people like and like add value to them, like, there's such a premium of being nice and being liked in entrepreneurship because like you'll get opportunities that you will not, you don't even know it exists actually, because they happen in rooms and conversations where you're not there, where the person is like, yeah, I'm in a conversation about Joshua Tree. It's like, it's like, oh yeah, actually, but I know this guy actually has like 53 properties out there. You should just talk to him. Like, I don't know, but you should at least talk to him. And for someone like that, it's actually really valuable. It's like, yeah, it's a lead that you never would have known, but it's like you have a conversation. Might not go anywhere, but it might. And then for me, it's like I connected to people that like, mutually benefited from an interaction. And those are the things I think everyone should like look for. And I think these networking events are super valuable. So
100%.
Folks, yeah, like definitely go out and don't be scared. Just think about it in the context that Patryk just described. I think it's just a really, really useful framework. As we went into conversation, I'm gonna ask my final question that I ask all my guests. Look, business, we just talked about, it's a team sport, and not gonna be successful without others in your corner and actively helping you. Like, what was one of the kindest things that someone's done for you in your business journey? Could be like from the very beginning to now. What was one of the kindest things that someone did for you that's really helps you get to where you are today?
I think the kindest thing is definitely my business partner that offered the capital, right? So Josh decided to take a bet on me and decided, you know what, I see something in this guy. I think that he's going to do really well, and he put his money where his mouth is, and now we own a management company together. I believe that I've given him a lot of value since then, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship. So I think that was the nicest thing somebody's ever done. Well, money is great, but more than that, just mentorship and growth and scale together.
He believed in you, right? Before you were Patryk, right?
I had one.
Yeah.
So
one. Yeah. I think that's, and I think it's a product of you and you trying hard. I think people really, as someone that's older, like you definitely, like, I see people that have a lot of promise. Like, you just see people that like have effort and like integrity.
Right.
And those are the people that you would align with, even if it didn't work out. It actually, like, it didn't really, it matters, of course. Like, no one wants to lose money, but if someone really tried and like you both knew what was going in on it, and like there's no guarantees in life, but if you do that and are successful, or even not, like if you both put in the relationship where you both like put in what you said you would do, and no matter the outcome, like those are always like great relationships now. So shout out to Josh if he's listening to this. You picked a great partner, and we all in STR Nation benefit from that. So Patryk, thanks for spending time with me today. I really appreciate you sharing the server space story, and how you've now gotten 53. You're Mongol in Joshua Tree now. I love it. Can't wait till our next conversation. You'll tell me the next units that you get. But appreciate you sharing your story today.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Patryk.